also would like the public to know that people in our audience record the meeting. You have the right to move away from them if you do not wish to be in the recording. If you would like to know who is recording, you may ask who is sitting by you quietly so not to disturb the rest of the council. Thank you.
Need a motion to accept the minutes from last month.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from November.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Give you guys a brief update of what we've been working on. The commissioners have largely come to a consensus on our budget. I'd say it's probably the most difficult budget that we've had since I've been in office. We had significant asks from the sheriff's department and the public works. And I think the reason that we've had those asks is there's been a culture change and a shift in the way they do business, in the sense that we ask them to come to us with a request that represents their professional opinion of what should be done versus to come to us with a request of what they know we can afford. And the difference between those two things is representative of the deficiencies in our funding. The sheriff has done a really good job of getting the job done with the money that the county has. And we all know that that's not enough. And that's been that way a long time. And so he increased his ask. I think the total was by $1.2 million. And his proposal would have hired at least 3 new deputies and a couple of new dispatch and a couple of new jailers. Similar ask from Public Works and the county road, a couple $1 million over what has been passed historically, and that represented the work that they think should be done to just keep things from getting worse. And so we had a challenge. Commissioner Rosenkrantz had proposed right away that we spend some of the LATCF money, which we were awarded, which came from the federal government, to counties that were considered timber counties. And timber counties are those counties that have a large portion of their lands that are public lands and that we don't see property tax on. So we got that award because of that, because we are 60% public lands. We had initially reserved those funds for what I felt like would be economic development activity to increase the economy here, long-term revenue. He proposed initially that we spend all of that one shot with this ask this year.
How much was it?
It was $4.2 million, I think, $4.7 million. We compromised over the last couple of weeks. We've hammered out a compromise that, depending on how our revenues go for the rest of the year, I think we'll be spending maybe $1.2 million, maybe $2 million, somewhere between there, of those revenues to balance our budget. And that'll be a one-time. Of course, once those revenues are gone, we have no expectation of anything like that again. But I think we're largely there in agreement and consensus on that. What we're doing is not spending money we don't have, but we're spending money that we have no long-term source for, and to balance our budget. The analogy I would give you is your kids need new shoes, the car needs new tires, so you're spending your reserve fund to buy new shoes and you're buying new tires. And that means the next time that happens, you're not going to have a reserve fund.
So what's
And
that?
we have a reserve fund besides that, of course, and I want to stress that. We have other reserve funds. They're cash flow reserve funds, but this was a fund that would have been dedicated towards, and still will be in a large sense, towards trying to increase our long-term revenue. Question?
Yeah, if you spend it this year, you have to lay off those same people that you hire next year?
We still have some of it. We didn't spend all of it. We still have more than half of it. That is always the option, and that's always the thing that we try to avoid is getting to a point where we would have to lay off staff. You know, we're a long ways from that. We're definitely over a year from that. You know, we've figured it out for a year. A lot of it depends on how things go next year. Remember, a budget is a plan, and a lot of it is, you know, don't tell our financial manager this, but a lot of it is guesswork. We don't know what the revenues will be next year. We don't know.
It's negotiable.
Yep.
Always can be modified.
Yep. So, but I think we're largely there. I think we'll hammer out the last details in the next year, or maybe next week. So that's been a big deal. It will keep public works hopping, and the sheriff's department's gonna have a significant increase. And in both cases, that was the largest budget for both of those entities since I've been in office. Is it what needs to be done? Probably not, especially when you consider inflation, you consider the cost of fuel, you consider the cost of what it takes to keep a deputy. My understanding is we have 6 figures into a deputy before they ever get on the road right now. So by the time we train them, we outfit them, we get a car, we do all that.
I'm sure you guys have gone through department by department to find out if you have stuff you don't need.
Oh, yeah.
And people,
And you know, we do that line by line, just like you guys do in the budget. And you know, we bring them in and we talk to them line by line about their budget. Largely what I've been working on is that. Also, we're preparing for winter. It's gonna come here quick. We've been real fortunate so far with snow plowing this year. But I think we're well positioned to should we get some winter. We got everybody hired and ready, so we'll see what happens there. Had the 9 commissioner meeting, the Pontgomery County representative meeting today. We met with the Pontgomery County commissioners, PUD commissioners, and port commissioners. All met, had a great discussion. Largely, the PUD hosted us today, so it was largely around PUD issues. A lot of it was around the issues involved in that long-term planning that they discussed last month here, especially as it relates to the power sharing agreement with Seattle Light and Boundary. I see that becoming a big issue here in about 5 years, about 4 years. They're gonna, you understand that the PUD had entered into a long-term sale agreement with Clark County, and they've sold all of the output of Ox Canyon to Clark County. And in the meantime, we're all living on the power that comes from Seattle City Light, which of course is much more reasonable power. It's way cheaper than it costs to operate Ox Canyon. Benefits us in some ways, except for the fact about 2029, the supply of our demand as a county is gonna go above the ability of that deal to supply us power. We will go from a net seller to a net buyer at about 2029, 2030. When that happens, there needs to be some stuff changed. And because the market for power in the Northwest has gone insane.
how long was the sale to Clark County, how long does that last?
20 years, I think?
Has it even started yet?
No, it starts next year.
Yeah.
So, lots going on there. I hope to be involved in that negotiations and when that happens. But that affects every single person in this county, every single business. It affects every single industry, all of us. And so I think that needs to be a county-wide effort when that comes to that negotiation with Seattle City Light. And if just a history lesson, short history lesson, that Z Canyon, that hydroelectric project belonged to the people of this county at one point. And somehow, now, it's all going to King County. So,
That
that,
went to federal court.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And a federal
And it
judge
probably
ruled
will
that
again.
It was a better use of the water.
yeah, it probably
Whether it
will
was or
again.
not, yeah.
Yeah, and so, there are people in King County right now that are profiting greatly in industries from that. So, and we're gonna end up being a net importer in a county that has 2 major hydroelectric dams and 10,000 voters, and we're gonna import power.
Is PUD talking about like increasing their generation capacity at all, to your knowledge?
They haven't, we haven't been on that level with them. I know that As I understand it, they got one unit still down,
Yeah.
and so
Just,
I
read a
hope
lot
to be
about-
involved in that.
I read a lot about these small nuclear reactors, like Amazon wants to build them in the Columbia Basin and all these, you know, this would be a
Yeah.
perfect place for something like that.
Something like that will
If
probably
community's
happen.
not, you know, like making that conversation, you know, like trying to get those people in the room, I
Yeah.
mean, you're missing out.
Well, we're
And-
talking like 3 or 4 years to put all this, I mean, it's not like a plug and play.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, you
you
know,
know,
you
for
can't,
years,
you can't
a
wait
bunch
till
of
you're
people
short
built
before you
the
start
place up
planning.
here.
You can't
Yeah.
wait till you're short before you start planning.
And that's why we're having this discussion now.
And that, so that's,
Yeah. The other thing I would give you is just a short thing. I went to a training week before last on the Washington State Association of Counties on the Clean Energy Act and the power supply situation in Washington State. If we take out the transportation aspect, if we just talk about demand for residential and commercial and industrial electricity, the demand in the next 10 years is gonna double. Okay? Without any plans for electric vehicles. If you throw the electric vehicles thing in there, at the same time, the Clean Energy Act removes three major energy producing plants in the Northwest that are gas fired or coal fired. So, and then also there's a federal proposal at the same time to remove major dams. So there is a clash coming of reality with electricity. Just get everybody to know that, because the PUD was here for a reason, last month.
I read today where Washington State is the third most popular state for electric vehicles.
Yeah, so,
anyway.
yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Right at the beginning, I think we were talking about the other big plow money.
Yes, LATCF.
And, you were reserving it for economic, part, a significant part of that for economic.
Yeah, what we called it
Would
was,
not be.
we called it a future, future prosperity fund, I think is what we called it, or something along those
What do you
lines.
spend it? Or what are you spending it on?
We're spending about $1.2 million of it, maybe $2 million of it on public works and on the roads this year. So, it will be reduced. That's the way it is. We could spend it on anything.
Well, yeah.
It has no strings attached.
If
you
you were
decide-
going to spend money, right, maybe I'll phrase that, if you were going to spend money on economic development.
We didn't really know yet.
What would you spend it on?
We don't really know yet. It might be grant matches for some things like what we talked about, a project like that to come to Monterey County. You know, a lot of those things require grant matches. We didn't really have a solid plan, and that's partly why maybe we ended up
It's
doing
sitting there
this.
in the pot in case one of those projects develops.
Right, right. Other than that, I'm here for questions. If anybody has any questions, I need to take up all your time.
No, I'm just glad you're doing it, not me.
Thanks a lot, Brad.
Is it gonna snow next week?
Huh?
Is it gonna snow next week?
It's gonna snow here in the next 3 or 4 weeks is what they
Oh, well,
say.
You're right on track.
I just
Yeah.
looked at the long-term forecast, and it's gonna be in the 40s next week.
Well, I haven't looked at it.
And it doesn't look like it, you go all the way through Christmas and you can't see anything but 40-degree temperature.
You just need to
You
leave
might want to stay
one.
around.
In 2 days, we're supposed to have snow, or maybe tomorrow, and then it's all gone.
We don't have a sheriff here, no, I'm sorry.
I'm done.
All right. We don't have a sheriff here, so in that, read the sheriff's report, it was like, some, target anything next year. And we don't have fire district, and I don't think there's been any fires in town. I think I saw an ambulance in and out here, Rick might know, but other than that.
There's the ambulance out of here. I can't hear you.
There was one ambulance call that I know of in town.
Yeah, anyway.
Well, last week there was one, that was Linda Tap.
Probably.
Now,
No registry, maintenance report,
Everything's looking good. We've got the plows all set up and ready, and sanders in, full of sand. I think we've even sanded some the other day. So,
state of area, somebody went through there.
I think Mikey did.
Mikey did, he was getting
Yeah.
it going.
It just stays,
checking
and
it
it
out.
stays a lot colder up there on that stretch. So
Saints just coming out with that.
yes, I'll bet. So yeah, that's all good and everything. Yeah, everything I think is going as well as can be for right now. we've been actually talking to a few other guys just for backup, plow drivers. And I think I've done good ones, so that's looking really good. So you may see him out driving around here once we get all the paperwork done and whatnot, but, anyway, yeah, we've got, plowing covered between Mikey and some help, and, something that I think that we had talked about last month was the water tender out there.
That's a new business.
Is that in new business? Okay, do you want me to wait for that,
Yeah.
or do we wanna go ahead and go into new business, or?
No,
But anyway, yeah, maintenance, we're pretty good.
okay.
Kelly and I have been working on, she's actually gotten a couple of reports done and whatnot, so, yeah.
If we don't have anything listed for old business, we can move on to new business. We need a motion to accept the budget, order, ordinance, 255-2025. budget.
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance 255-2025 budget.
One second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Everybody. Now, we're deciding, that we need a motion to surplus the water trucks.
Listen to delay and all.
Yeah, the old water tender. I know some folks would really like to get it certified so that it could go on fires, and that's a great way to make money. That truck will never be certified. Never. It's an unbaffled tank. It's a tank that's too large for that frame. There's already a hole in the bottom of the tank, so it does leak. And it's 40 years old.
Aside from that,
Aside from that, it's great. No, it really isn't. It just needs to go because it's just, it would not be, if the town wanted to pursue something like that, I would suggest, again, selling that and then pooling some other monies together to go buy a purpose-built tender if that's what the town wants to do. I don't think that that is the business we necessarily want to get into, but
No, we were just trying
Right,
to find a
right.
position for that. so
yeah,
it's not
no,
safe.
I would go ahead and just surplus it. You know, most of the stuff still works on it, it's just,
As
on the
is.
edge.
As is.
Yeah,
So other than the leak in the tank, it's workable.
workable, all the tires are bad. All the tires are bad. There's not a big tire on it.
They're not roadworthy tires.
No, they are not.
As is, very large, as is.
And so, yes, I would suggest a $1,500 minimum because it is worth that, you know. And hopefully we can get a little more, but anyway, I would at least put a $1,500, but of course that's just my opinion. You can start a little higher, but you know, it's a 1984 International, and it was a haul truck up in the quarry before we got it. So it was thrashed before we got it.
What did the
And-
town use it for?
The town got it and
In the
Metaline
streets.
Fire Department got it. They got it and used it for a water tanker and then, yeah, it was, yeah, that's why they got it, because it was a dollar and the quarry was closing down.
Yeah,
and-
well, I mean, really, that's what they said, like, they just wanted to work.
Yeah, they want to help out.
Yeah, so that's what it was, yeah, it was just basically.
we've used it for washing.
And it's still, you know, the sprayer stuff works on it and everything, but I gotta repair a little something every year to make it
Some
work
of it's
again.
well,
and-
that hole's shut.
You know, you could put a plate on it, weld a plate and seal it back up if somebody wanted to. I mean, it'd be a good farm truck for something.
The other
Or
thing you guys
a
should be
lumber
aware of that truck is because it was used on off-road, off-highway. If you fill that tank even 3/4 full, the truck is overloaded.
Yes, that's
To
why I
be
say
on the
that
highway.
the tank is too big
The
for
tank
it.
is too big for a highway, it won't be
It's the
leaking.
weight.
So if you fill it half full, It's, you gotta have baffles in it.
And then you don't have.
Brian,
Yeah.
or delay.
Yeah, I've driven it, so I know, it's scary.
Yeah,
This is buyer beware.
it's fun. That water gets lost.
Just prove that truck is
No,
in good shape.
that's
No
why I
matter what
said
the town did.
I'll just add one more thing,
That covered.
not to correct Elaine, but I think you could get more than 1,500
So
easily.
again, I just,
Somebody will
Just-
buy it for road construction jobs,
Just to
for
sit on
watering
it.
down roads, off-road,
It's just not gonna happen.
because it has the pumps and sprayers.
So, but two
Yeah, even the
thousand
longer
is
can put it
starting
up on the
on.
job,
Absolutely.
it's a fire truck.
I, well, that's what I was saying, you know, a lumber mill could use it, or a logger,
I think
or,
2,000.
or whatever. You know, shoot, throw 2,500 on it. If it
Yeah, I
doesn't
agree.
move, you can always lower the price.
Yeah.
Right, you can't come back that, you better down.
Okay, I need a motion to surplus the water truck.
Make a motion to surplus the water truck.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Okay, now how much,
Just sitting there.
Jill, this is separate, so now you guys gotta figure out your price.
Yeah,
So now we're
give us a
surplusing
minimum.
it down how much?
No, that's the minimum, that's as low as we would go.
No. I would go 2,500.
Started at 25.
Start at a minimum of 2,500. If it doesn't move, again, if nobody bids on it at 2,500, then we lower it to 2,000. I mean,
Okay.
it doesn't have to go anywhere
Little something.
fast, you know,
Right.
so
It's been sitting
we've
really
got
long.
time.
So we'll start it, so 25.
We're no hurry to stop it, it's
Right.
not moving, but it's in.
It'll sell.
it's a
Yeah,
very-
it will, I'm sure, or even if it comes to spring.
I'll buy it if it goes for
Yeah,
25.
So,
I'll bet money right
I don't
now.
work here anymore, I can put a bid on it, so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
that's another
you guys
one.
need to agree on a price, you need to agree how many weeks you want the paper. So, and then what day you want to open the bids. So I need all that.
That's not information.
I would say 4 weeks, January first.
Well, no, 4 weeks is not, it'll be this, by the
No.
next meeting.
Start, by the next meeting.
Is that what you guys want? That's what we usually do.
Okay, but
And if it doesn't sell. we-
So it'd be January 8th is our next meeting. That's when bids will be open.
then I would go at least 4 weeks.
Yeah, from now to the next meeting, yeah, that's long enough. I mean, if anybody's interested, they're gonna come and get it. And it will start, might need a little easier because it's cold, but,
I'll still kind of.
It- in the summer, it doesn't really matter.
Some of them.
Yeah, no, shoot, if
Yeah.
you did nothing but, you just needed the motor out of it.
Nobody put new tires on.
and we're doing 25?
I think it's pretty fair, just to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need that one to work on it now.
Right, exactly, start with that and then, yep, okay.
Until it's gone.
And I think somebody needs to make a motion to that effect.
Yeah, they
This is
do.
my meeting.
I'm letting them finish discussing.
Need a motion.
I made the last one.
Set the
I make a
minimum
motion,
bid
we
at
ask,
2,500.
I make a motion, we ask $2,500 for the old power equipment.
Starting
Get
bids.
it to.
Start
Yeah,
with it.
They kind of second that without me there.
Second?
They'll get there.
All in favor?
I,
I do
Minimum
that.
bid, that's all.
Starting bid.
Minimum.
Minimum.
Yeah, but starting bid if it's an oral auction bid. It's a minimum bid.
Reserve bid.
Written auction.
The treasurer's report?
payroll $10,055.22, expenses $7,554.24, revenues $21,654.48.
I need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I will second it.
All in favor? Public comment?
No, you forgot the council.
Oh, council reports, I'm sorry. Sorry, Janet. Check my
I don't really have anything other than drive around and look at the Christmas lights.
Yeah, it's nice lights up.
Pretty nice, enjoy the bare streets while we have them.
I've been walking around this town, they're not all there. There's
No,
slippery
our hill
spots.
is never bare, yeah.
I got it.
You gotta be careful.
Unfortunately, we don't have the holidays.
I didn't see any Christmas lights in the park.
Well,
No park, no park.
We're waiting for Dennis to
I can't
donate
get
more,
up
we
on
can,
Amanda was the one putting things down and the trees down.
yeah,
This
she was,
year.
yeah.
Oh, that's right, last year, the year
Yeah, she
before.
decorated.
Amanda, burn it right there on the corner.
But you have to run extension cords to the pavilion, and you can only do 1 or 2 trees or you trip the pavilion, so.
we would really
We
nice.
can do around the pavilion
You could do
LEDs
The
wouldn't
sign.
trip.
It's tougher than you think because all the underneath portion is metal, it's not like.
Yeah, we have those.
There's nothing to, yeah, you
anchors.
can't stick a
Yeah,
tack
you
in
can't
it.
stick, I tried to put it
We
on
have
a
the
couple
magnets
years
on the
ago.
outside and the
We
inside.
No, I
think
haven't
we
been
pulled
to
them down.
They don't make it very well. You need the thingy that just does the thing, just do the thing.
Get together.
Other than that, everything's fine down there.
Okay.
Merry-go-round still goes around.
Yeah, Liz.
Yeah, a little tilted, but that gives it the whip.
My granddaughter loved it.
Yeah.
Okay, public comment.
During the public comment period, your comments are limited to 3 minutes. These are guidelines to help council members hear as many different viewpoints as possible in the limited time available. If you're speaking for a group, you must tell the council how the group developed the position that you are presenting. The council may or may not answer your question, and questions should be sent to the town's email.
No public comment? Need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I'll second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Thank you, Autumn.
Not too bad.
She's